Welcome to AM Best Audio.
With natural catastrophe losses rising and rebuilding costs climbing, commercial property insurance has never been more critical or more closely scrutinized. In his book, How to Acquire, Understand, and Make a Successful Claim on a Commercial Property Insurance Policy, Barry Zalma breaks down the fundamentals of coverage, risk, and claims handling, emphasizing that mastering policy language and claims procedures is key to navigating disputes and business interruption challenges, helping insurers and property owners safeguard their assets. I'm Lori Chortis for AM Best TV. Barry Zalma, a consultant, expert witness exclusively in insurance matters, and founder of Barry Zalma Incorporated, joins us now to discuss that and other key findings from his book. Barry, welcome. So great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for asking.
So, Barry, can you tell us a bit about your book, what inspired it, and the key insights you hope readers will take away from the book?
Well, one of the things I've found in 45 years of practice in the insurance legal field and then retired from practicing law was that most people don't read insurance policies. I'm one of those strange people who do it for a living, but most people don't. I once had to give a talk to a bunch of people at a Mensa convention, which means everybody there is supposedly a genius. And the first question I asked before I started my talk was, who here has read their insurance policy from cover to cover? There were 150 people in the room. 2 raised their hand. I said, who understood their policy? The 2 hands went down. Now, insurance policies are written today in Sesame Street English. Anybody who can read at a 4th grade level can read and understand an insurance policy. They're just afraid of them. So one of the reasons for the book was to make it easier for them to read it, because courts will assume you have read and understood your policy. And that can be very surprising when you find out that you agreed to a condition you didn't know you agreed to. And claims handling, most people have never had a claim. For instance, in 83 years of living and 51 years in the same house, I've had one claim. A little fire on my garage roof that my neighbor put out before the fire department got there. That was my one homeowner's claim. And I had one commercial claim where somebody broke a window. Now, I'm the thrill to any insurance company because they're using my money to pay people who really have claims. And that's how it works. It's a spreading of risk. And I like insurance claims. I've gone through thousands of them, while most human beings may have 1 or 2, like my personal claims history. And it's not difficult, but it is work to present a claim. So I want to let people know how to do it. And I think I wrote the book for normal people, not for insurance claims people. They know how to handle a claim. But normal people have no idea what they're buying. Some other experts who deal with agents and brokers tell me most insurance agents and brokers have never read the policy, and if they did, they didn't understand it. So we want to help that kind of people too, the people that read your magazine that I started reading when I was a trainee insurance adjuster in 1968. So that's the reason. It's not a big seller. It's not something you buy to sit down and read for pleasure, but hopefully it's useful as a source book when you have a need.
Absolutely. Barry, what are some of the most common coverage misunderstandings that businesses have about commercial property insurance, and how can insurers help clarify them?
Well, they can continue to write their policies in English. They can do it in simple, easy to read language. Believe me, it's the hardest thing in the world to write. I had to write one of them once, and it's no fun. But also, they have to be able to explain it. And that's the job of the salesperson, of the underwriter, and when there's a claim, of the claims person. And we here in California and about 30 or 40 other states have what's called the Fair Claims Settlement Practices Regulations, which set up minimum standards for handling claims in the state of California, New York, and Nevada. What other state has these kinds of regulations? And the first thing they require in the regulations is that you tell your insured what the policy covers and explain it to them in simple language as it relates to whatever claim was presented. You know, my house caught fire, somebody ran a truck into my garage without opening the door. Those are the kinds of claims people have every day. And those regulations, which is even easier than when I was a trainee adjuster, back in the day, we really had to work to adjust claims and we had to know what we were doing. So this kind of book would help an adjuster as well as an insured. And commercial property is no different than any other kind of property. The standard fire policy covers fire, lightning, windstorm, and hail. Nice and easy to understand what it is. That means it doesn't cover an earthquake. It doesn't cover a flood. And so if you want that kind of coverage, you must work with your insurance company to obtain the types of coverages you want. And that means you have to read what they give you. I've never met a person who asked to read a policy before he bought it. But it's a good idea. The only one I ever did who did that turned out to be a fraud, and he wanted to know how easy it would be to cheat the insurance company. And he tried. He failed. He failed. I just got an email from an underwriter, a Lloyd's claims person that I knew because I wrote a little blog post about another kind of fake theft. And it was almost identical to the one we did together 30 years ago. He just wanted to know if the guy dropped his jewelry off his boat. Because a personal articles floater, for example, covers all risks of personal loss and no real exclusions except wear and tear and war. So if you lose it, you get paid. You don't have to have it stolen. You can just say, it was on my wrist yesterday and it's not there anymore. And I don't know where it is. I just testified for a guy who lost a watch. It only cost him $400,000. And they didn't want to pay him because he just lost it. And he couldn't prove where it went because he didn't know. Probably because he was drunk the night before, but that has nothing to do with anything. It's still covered. So my recommendation is read your insurance policy. No one will follow that recommendation. So if you can't or don't want to, hire somebody who will. And pay them, and you'll save a lot of money in the end.
Customize your data experience. BestLink now offers an interactive company dashboard that provides company-level intelligence in a fast, user-friendly interface featuring interactive tables, charts, and Sparkline performance histories. Customize the dashboard tiles to prioritize the insurer ratings, data, and analytics that best support your workflow. AM Best. Our insight, your advantage.
Absolutely. Well, Barry, as you just mentioned, that most people don't actually read their insurance policies. But how about agents and brokers? Do they thoroughly read and understand the policies they place?
Not according to the experts I talk to who are agents and brokers experts. Most try, but the basic insurance agents selling auto insurance policies, they think they know what they're doing, and they've never read every word. And it's sad. And homeowners policies have all kinds of limitations most people don't know about. Auto policies have arbitration clauses in them that people don't know about. An uninsured motorist is different from underinsured motorist, and you ought to be able to tell the difference. Uh, Homeowners policies come in all variations. Fire insurance policies do. Homeowners policies require you to reside in your dwelling. Sounds simple, right? But if, say, you had a heart attack and you had to move to one of these residence facilities for 3 months and there's nobody in your house and it burns down, you don't have coverage. So you have to be smart enough to call your agent and say, I'm moving out of my house because I have to go to a rest home for a few months. Please endorse my policy so that there's coverage. Simple little things, but it's amazing how many. I see that lawsuit about I wasn't in my house. I was on vacation for 3 months in Puerto Rico. Well, that's wonderful, but there was nobody residing in your house. Or my wife divorced me and threw me out. Excuses that can get you in trouble with.
Absolutely. Barry, when guiding clients on selecting a policy, what key factors should insurers emphasize, particularly for all risk coverage and its practical limitations?
Well, first off, there's no such thing as all risk. 40 years ago, I read one that Lloyd's wrote that just said, we insure against all risk of physical loss except wear and tear. That was the entire policy. I memorized it. Today, there is no such thing as a total all risk policy. In fact, the words all risk are disappearing from insurance policies, and now they insure against direct risks of physical loss except excluded. So first you have to know what risks your property faces. For instance, if your building is on the shore of the Mississippi, you might have a risk of flood. And so you're going to want to buy coverage for flood. There are private insurers who insure against flood. There is the National Flood Insurance Program, which is the most strictly interpreted insurance policy in the country. Federal courts will enforce every word in the flood insurance policy, including the need to produce a sworn proof of loss in 60 days after the flood. If you do it on the 62nd day, you get nothing. That's how strict they, unless you can get yourself a written extension. Now, there's proof of loss clauses in commercial property policies, and most insurers don't even require a proof of loss until they've met with you, worked up the claim, and agreed with you on the amount of the claim, and then the proof of loss only becomes a receipt. Back in 1900, the California Supreme Court, in the year 1900, so that's 126 years ago, said failure to provide a proof of loss within 60 days on a fire policy voided coverage. And he got nothing. And the insurance industry was losing customers like mad. And that's where the insurance adjuster got created, because the insurance companies were afraid of losing their customers and offending their customers if they denied their claim after 60 days. without giving them warning. So then an insurance adjuster comes in to explain the coverage to the insured, the need for the proof of loss within 60 days if it's that kind of standard policy, and that he or she is available to get him an extension so that it won't void. And then the adjuster is there to work to help an insured prove his claim. Because most human beings, I bet if your house burned down, would you know how to rebuild it? I'm sure you don't. Would you know where to find a general contractor who's experienced in replacing fire damaged buildings? Of course not. But the adjuster does. And that's why there are adjusters. They're actually there to help the insured. And there's also a different kind of adjuster called a public insurance adjuster who only works for an insured against the insurance company to help the insured prove his loss. I don't like paying them a percentage of a claim for a service I get for free from the insurance company. So if the insurance company has a professional and good adjuster on staff who is doing what he should and who won't get sued and who's insured will then not have to have his lawyer hire me to tell them where they went wrong, you're going to get your claim settled promptly and quickly, because the insurance adjuster's overworked. He wants to get rid of the claim. He doesn't want you unhappy. He or she wants you paid. And back when I was an adjuster, I'd have an insured say, well, that was an old television in my garage. I don't want to have my insurance company have to pay for it. And I'd have to tell them, your insurance company took your money to protect you against the loss even of that old television. And we owe you what it costs to replace it. And here's the money. We sometimes literally had to force people to take more money than they asked for. I don't see that as often in these days, but that's because the insurance companies have decimated their claim staffs.
Barry, once a loss occurs, what best practices should insurers follow to handle claims efficiently and successfully?
Well, first thing they have to do is call their insurance company and advise them they have a claim, that they've had a loss, and they want an adjuster to contact them. Now, they either do that directly with the insurance company. Most of them print a 1-800 number on the cover of their policies these days. Or you call your insurance agent, he will or she will report it to the insurance company, and then you should hear from the insurance company immediately, but no later than 15 calendar days after you report it. Most of them will get in contact with you within 24 hours and make an appointment to come and inspect the property. And they'll come individually, or they'll come with an expert. If, say, it's a major fire and most of your house is gone, they will bring a contractor with them to help them estimate the damages. If it's a major fire, they'll arrange to go to a hotel or find a rental, and we'll pay for that under your additional living expense coverage. And that's the kind of thing in personal property. In a commercial policy, they may need time element coverages to cover their business that they're losing because their building burned down. And those are the kinds of coverages you want to make sure you have. A good, solid business interruption, time element coverage to protect the loss of your earnings, as well as coverage to replace the building old for new. Because the actual cash value policies are really fair market value policies. They're replacement cost less depreciation, or just fair market value. If you have an actual cash value coverage on a commercial policy, then you probably don't have enough coverage, because they're going to deduct what it costs, or they're going to, I mean, you can't put back a 50-year-old board if it burned up, because there aren't 50-year-old boards hanging around. They're going to use new lumber and new steel, and that costs more than what the property is worth. So I would suggest you hire a specialist before you buy the policy to determine the full replacement cost of the structure you want to insure, and make sure that that is updated every year at renewal, and don't rely on an insurance company saying we're adding 2% to your policy limit because of inflation. The cost could have gone down. We've had all kinds of strange things happen in this business, and there are plenty of construction consultants who will give you that kind of price, because they also know what it costs to demolish the old damaged building and haul off the junk that's left, and how much it costs to then start over and build a new building with modern materials up to code. And so you always want to get code upgrade coverages, so that, I mean, my house was built in 1928. The original part of it was built in 1928, and it's been updated over the years, but I'm sure the whole house is not up to regular codes. And hopefully my code upgrade coverage will cover enough if my house ever burns down when I replace it, so that I don't have to come up with money out of pocket because it costs more to. I mean, for some strange reason, my city requires sprinklers in your house. Now, that's a big expense. We don't have sprinklers. I don't want sprinklers because they usually cause more damage than the fire. Those are some of the little ones. I'm talking too much.
No, this is fascinating. Barry, looking ahead, how is the commercial property insurance landscape evolving, and what can insurers do now to help clients reduce risk and stay ahead of emerging challenges?
Well, some insurers have staffs of pre-risk engineers, which really can be useful if the engineers really know what they're doing. And before they will sell you a policy, before they'll insure you, they will send this engineer to inspect your property to see if there are any risks that could be avoided, uh, like a extension cord plugged into 32 different devices, or in a commercial building, a need for fire sprinklers connected to to a direct alarm system, to a commercial alarm company, or directly to some places let you go directly to the fire department. And as long as you're having legitimate losses, you want as much security as you can get. So you also want to silence burglar alarm connected to a smoke alarm, so that if you're burglarized, you'll know about it, and the burglary won't be as big. And you hope the burglar alarm works. When somebody threw a brick through my front door, the alarm didn't go off because I didn't know I needed a glass breakage item in my alarm system. I didn't even know they existed. Fortunately, my local police department saw the broken window and they called me. And I got me somebody to board up the front door. And then they didn't leave until that. I live in a very small city in Los Angeles, surrounded by all of the city of Los Angeles, but we only have like 40,000 people in my little city. with a real police department that comes to call instead of needing to make an appointment to see your police officer.
Well, Barry, this has been fascinating, so insightful, and it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Greatly appreciate it.
Well, and thank you for plugging the book. If you go to Zalma.com, you'll see a place where there's a bunch of my insurance claims library with about 30 books I've written.
And that was Barry Zalma, a consultant, expert witness exclusively in insurance matters, founder of Barry Zalma Incorporated, and author of the book, How to Acquire, Understand, and Make a Successful Claim on a Commercial Property Insurance Policy. For AM Best TV, I'm Lori Chortis.
Looking to get the full attention of the insurance industry? We have the platforms that will do just that. Whether it be AM Best TV, AM Best Audio, Best Review Magazine, or Best Day. Find out more by calling AM Best Advertising Sales at 908-439-2200, extension 5399, and have a great day.